break of 47,000. We've obviously been in a range for basically the duration of this year. What is your assumptions about the trajectory as we move forward through 2022?
Well, it's been a choppy start to the year, not just for crypto, but across all asset classes. So I think certainly it's an exciting morning in the crypto community to see that year, long so far of losses erased, and also seeing Bitcoin break out above that psychological $45,000 level. I think what we're seeing is a couple of native crypto buyers like TERRA buying for their own reserves, as well as now we're actually seeing in the TradFi space, in the CME futures, all-time open interest on that side as well, which is leading to a little bit of a short squeeze in the futures and thus the Bitcoin prices this morning.
Michael, there was a lot of talk about the fact that institutions were going to be stepping into this market in a big way. What are you seeing from institutions? Which ones are stepping up? Which ones aren't?
What's really encouraging to see from our seat is really some of the traditional players beginning to get into crypto trading. Some new firms like Cowen and others have begun trading crypto and offering crypto custody services as well. And on the investor side, there's no question amongst investors that crypto as an asset class is here to stay. So all of the firms that they work with for advisory or for custodianship, they're all beginning to offer crypto products and services. And that's also leading to greater adoption as well as investor appetite to diversify into the asset class.
Well, and speaking of how investors can get into this asset class, and you were talking about Bitcoin futures earlier, there obviously is an ETF for that. What there is not yet is a spot ETF, and that is obviously something that Grayscale has been actively pursuing. You've asked people to write into the SEC. What do you expect the consequence of those letters to be, and ultimately how this is going to end up when it comes to SEC approval?
Well, the Grayscale team has been putting the full resources of our firm behind converting GBTC, our flagship fund, into an ETF. It's really important that investors know that we have and will continue to advocate for them, but their voice can actually be heard through this process as well. And so the SEC has opened up this comment period for investors to advocate why they want an ETF, why it'll offer greater protections. And this is really, really important part of the process. GBTC today is owned by investors in all 50 states, and there's actually now over 800,000 accounts in the US, all waiting patiently to have it convert into an ETF.
Michael, what do you think Gary Gensler actually wants here? What is his objective in terms of what happens next with you, with the market? Do you think he needs or wants control of the underlying market before he's willing to take the step of giving you guys that option?
Well, the SEC has certainly encouraged a lot of crypto participants, including crypto exchanges, to come in and register with them. And Gary and the current SEC administration has moved the ball forward. It was really a very exciting announcement that we now have Bitcoin futures ETFs out in the market. But unfortunately, that's forced investors into those Bitcoin futures products because those are the only ones that exist. And so we're really encouraged by that, as well as the recent executive order that's causing more federal agencies to focus on crypto. And ultimately, we believe it's a matter of when, not a matter of if, a spot Bitcoin ETF is approved.
If it is not, if it is denied, would you look at the option of an APA lawsuit?
I think all options are on the table. I think certainly it's important that between now and the end of that 240-day process, which ends in early July, that the SEC hears from as many investors as possible, as well as academics, policymakers. Everybody has an opportunity to weigh in on this issue, and all of that is in fact considered as the SEC weighs the issue in front of them.
In terms of the most likely routes to get to an ETF being approved, what does it look like? What do you think the most obvious trajectory that we're on right now? What do you think is the most likely outcome here? If you were to pick an outcome of how you get from where you are now to that ETF being approved, what does it look like?
Well, Guy, GBTC today has been traded since 2015, and it's been an SEC reporting company since January of 2020. So every single day that it is trading and being bought and sold by investors and is not being folded into the familiarity and the protections of the ETF wrapper, we really don't feel that the SEC is doing everything they can to actually protect investors. What's missing is those last two key components that we're seeking from the SEC. GBTC could move up to a national exchange like the New York Stock Exchange, and then could also have that simultaneous creation and redemption process that would keep the shares trading in line with its net asset value.
Well, on the subject of GBTC, it has traded at a 25 to 30% discount for the entire month of March, and your Litecoin, Horizon, Zcash Trust also are trading at sizable discounts. Has that influenced demand at all?
Well, I think what's so exciting about the opportunity around this for investors is that when they think about putting on crypto exposure, they can take $1 and put it into the spot market, or they can take $1 and put it into GBTC and buy Bitcoin exposure at about 75 cents on the dollar. And so investors understand that over time, if and when GBTC converts, that will converge and that discount will actually close up to the net asset value. So for most investors, there's a trade-off there, and those that have that longer-term time horizon for their Bitcoin exposure actually see it as a really big and exciting potential for them.
In terms of the discount that there currently exists, is that an opportunity for you? You're trading at a discount to the underlying asset. How do you take advantage of that, Michael, in some shape or form?
Well, it's an opportunity for investors. As I mentioned, if you have a long enough time horizon, you have conviction that the SEC will approve GBTC and other spot Bitcoin ETF applications, then you do have the ability to buy Bitcoin exposure at a discount to the prevailing market. And you've seen that be the case where GBTC is held inside mutual funds, inside ETFs, inside retirement accounts, and today is owned by institutional and retail investors alike.